What was supposed to be a simple business meeting turned into something far more dangerous. A major rapper walks into a studio expecting to talk contracts and allegedly ends up trapped, robbed, and forced to sign his own deal at gunpoint. But here's where things get strange. Some say this was a carefully planned ambush. Others claim the entire story doesn't add up, and that key evidence is missing. So what really happened inside that Dallas studio? The meeting that turned into a trap. It started like any other industry meeting. According to reports, several music industry figures flew into Dallas expecting to handle business specifically, a contract situation tied to Pooh Shiesty and his label. At the center of it all was Gucci Mane, a major name in the industry and head of 1017 Records. Nothing about the setup seemed unusual. A studio session, a private conversation, a chance to settle differences. But once everyone was inside, the tone shifted. Fast. Because what was supposed to be a negotiation allegedly turned into something much more controlled. And what happened next would leave people questioning everything. The alleged studio takeover. Prosecutors claim this wasn't random. They say it was planned. According to the complaint, multiple individuals entered the studio and quickly took control of the situation. Victims were separated into different rooms, and inside one of those rooms, things allegedly escalated fast. Authorities say a weapon described as an AK-style firearm was pulled out. That's when the situation reportedly took a serious turn. Gucci Mane was allegedly forced to sign paperwork releasing Pooh Shiesty from his contract. At the same time, in another room, others were reportedly being held at gunpoint. It wasn't just one confrontation. It was happening all at once, and it didn't stop there. The details that sound like a movie. As more details came out, the story only got more intense. Prosecutors allege that victims were robbed of high-value items, Rolex watches, jewelry, cash, even designer bags. One person was reportedly choked from behind, to the point where they nearly lost consciousness. Others were blocked from leaving the studio entirely, trapped inside. At one point, some victims believed they weren't going to make it out at all. Eventually, the group fled, reportedly using multiple vehicles, including high-performance cars. It sounded less like a business dispute and more like something straight out of a movie. But here's where everything starts to get complicated. Because not everyone agrees on what actually happened. The defense pushes back hard. Almost immediately, the defense came out swinging. The attorney for Pooh Shiesty didn't just question the charges, he challenged the entire narrative. According to him, key pieces of evidence simply don't exist. No confirmed contract, no video of anyone signing anything, no recovered weapons, nothing. He even pointed out something else that raised eyebrows. If this case was so clear, why did it take months for charges to be filed? That delay, he argued, suggests investigators themselves may have had doubts. And if that's true, it raises a bigger question. Is this a solid case, or is there more to the story that hasn't been revealed yet? The evidence stacking up. Despite those claims, prosecutors say they have more than enough to move forward. They point to multiple pieces of evidence tying Pooh Shiesty to the scene. One of the biggest factors? His ankle monitor. At the time of the alleged incident, he was on home confinement, and data from that device reportedly places him at the studio. That alone could be a major problem. But it doesn't stop there. Investigators also cite surveillance footage, fingerprint evidence, and cell phone data tracking movements from Memphis to Dallas. And then there's social media. According to authorities, some individuals connected to the case allegedly posted images showing large amounts of cash and jewelry items believed to be tied to the robbery. Individually, each piece might raise questions. But together, prosecutors say it paints a very clear picture, and that picture only got worse for him in court. The bail decision that changed everything. When it came time for a judge to decide whether Pooh Shiesty could be released on bail, the answer was no. Flat out denied. The court ruled that he posed both a flight risk and a potential danger. And the reasoning was serious. The charges involve alleged use of a firearm, a possible life sentence. And perhaps most damaging, he was already under court-ordered restrictions at the time. According to the judge, there were no conditions that could guarantee safety or ensure he would return to court. That decision changed everything. Because now, this wasn't just a legal battle. It was a fight that could determine the rest of his life. The past that comes back to understand how serious this situation is. You have to look at what came before it. Pooh Shiesty had already been dealing with legal trouble. He previously served time related to a firearm case and was released early under strict conditions. One of those conditions? Home confinement, which meant he wasn't supposed to be traveling freely or involved in situations like this. So when prosecutors say he was in Dallas during the alleged incident, it doesn't just add to the case. It makes everything worse. Because now, it's not just about what happened in that studio. It's about whether those conditions were violated. And if they were, the consequences could be massive. A case full of questions. Right now, the case is filled with contradictions. On one side, prosecutors describe a coordinated, violent ambush backed by evidence and planning. On the other, the defense claims there are major holes missing proof, unanswered questions, and a timeline that doesn't fully make sense. No confirmed contract has been publicly shown. No weapon has been presented, and key details are still being debated. So what actually happened inside that studio? Was it a calculated move that spiraled out of control? Or is this a situation where the full story hasn't come out yet? What really happened? As it stands, the truth is still unfolding. A high-profile case, serious allegations, and a story that feels like it has more layers than we've seen so far. Because in situations like this, the first version of events isn't always the final one. And until everything comes out, one question still remains. What really happened inside that studio? That's all for this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Lone Star Heat. Want to support the channel? Check out our Etsy shop. Link in bio. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.